Okay, here we go. So this is week 1, day 2 for Intersession 2020, English 037. All right, so first things first, I just wanted to start with a very quick update. Um, as this is also my first time doing this kind of distance delivery or online delivery like this, things will keep changing as we adapt and kind of learn together. So you'll notice right away I've already changed the names of our modules. So what I realized is that there's quite a few documents going up each day. You notice that this is just for day 1, right? Module 1, day 1. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces of information or pieces of work that have gone up here. 3 documents and 3 videos. So I was thinking to myself, well, that's quite a bit. So if I'm doing 2 weeks for one module, which I want to stick to that layout for our course, there would be, a lot of documents in one section. So what I've decided to do is module 1A, that'll be for week 1, module 1B, that will be for week 2, 2A, that'll be for week 3, and then we'll move on from there. This will just help us to keep things separated into nice categories. And you'll notice that I've already got our first 2 pieces of information up here for today. So you can always track it, right? Module 1, day 2. Module 1, day 2. So this helps us to know which pieces of work are attached to which days of learning. Okay, so that's just kind of a basic rundown on organization here on D2L. Now, this mini lecture today is going to focus on talking about pronouns. So we're going to start looking at and explaining pronouns. Now, yesterday we talked about the basic 7 parts of speech, but of course, as with all learning, we kind of learn in stages, or we learn in steps. So we lay down one layer of knowledge and then we build on top of that. So when I pointed out that there are 7 basic parts of speech, the key word there is basic, because actually there are more than 7 types of words in the English language, right? But they're often connected together. So today we're going to deal with the first type of subcategory, and that is pronouns. So there are several types of nouns. I've already kind of laid that out yesterday. Singular, that's when there's just one noun, like a car. Plural, 5 red cars, that's the plural, more than one. Proper, that's a noun that is just one of a kind, like Vancouver or British Columbia or Zimbabwe or Matthew. And proper nouns always get capitalized. So maybe we should just capitalize that one to help us to remember. Now, we can also talk about countable nouns and non-countable nouns. So these are, like an example would be, you can count oranges, right? You could count 1 orange, 2 orange, 3 oranges, 1 orange, 2 oranges, 3 oranges. You can't count water, however, right? You don't say 1 water, 2 water, 3 water. So water is a non-countable noun. And we often, it's useful to understand the different types of words, because then we can understand how to use them in sentences. That's all preview though, because the big focus today is this category of words that we call pronouns. So pronouns are essentially a short abbreviation of a noun, and we use them to provide variety. So this makes sense, right? If you think about it, if you're telling a story about your friend Dan, if you were to refer to his name every single time, it would get kind of boring, right? Dan woke up in the morning, Dan brushed his teeth, Dan got in his car, Dan went to work. After a certain point in time, you're like, okay, I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that same word again. And this is also a really good point, is that when you write sentences or paragraphs, you want to provide as much variety within your writing as possible. So pronouns are one way that we can do this. Pronouns are short abbreviations, and we use them to step in for a noun that we already know what that noun is, right? So in the case of the example I just used about Dan, we would just switch to using he after the first usage. Then we'd spice the name in every once in a while, just to keep the reader reminded of who the main character is. But we're going to use the pronoun to provide some variety, right? Dan got up in the morning, he was tired. He jumped in his car, he went to work. When Dan got to work, comma, his boss reamed him out, period, okay? So we have to understand pronouns because they're so common. They're used all the time. And of course, we're going to have some practice identifying them. So let's take a look at this chart down below. So you'll notice that I lay this out in terms of when we talk about the different words that we can use, we can talk about kind of the voice that they're put in. Are they the first person, the second person, or the third person? So first person is the classic, it's my perspective, right? So that would be I. The subjective pronoun is I. The objective pronoun, let me just make this match up with the rest of my chart here. The objective pronoun, let's just, and I think that maybe it would look nice if we center these, make them a little bit more obvious, okay? So subjective, I, for the first person. The objective would be me. Then we have the possessive case. So we call these the different cases of the pronouns: subjective, objective, possessive, reflexive, or also sometimes the reflexive pronouns are called mirror pronouns. So subjective first person, I. Subjective, objective first person, me. Possessive first person, my. Reflexive, myself. Second person, you, your, and yourself. And then these are kind of the most common right here. We see these used all the time. And so in the third person, this is kind of like you're looking from the outside and watching someone else do something. You're watching that third person do something. For male people or animals, we have he. Female, we have she. And then gender neutral, we have it, right? For the subjective. Then for objective, him, her, it. Again, it doesn't change there. Possessive, his, her, its. Now notice we don't put the apostrophe in here, okay? The apostrophe is something different. If you put an apostrophe in, you're actually writing it is. Okay, so be careful about that. For possessive third person pronoun, it's just its. Okay, now again, notice I've capitalized these words. We'll only capitalize them if they come at the beginning of a sentence. And then finally here, for the reflexive third person pronouns, we have himself, herself, and itself. So let's write out some example sentences then and see if we can use our pronouns. Okay, so we have example number one. Mike was walking to the store. He, so what type of pronoun is this? What voice or what kind of person is it? And which of our examples is it? Is it subjective, objective, possessive, reflexive? Good. So this would be third person subjective. He wanted to buy a ring for his girlfriend. Are there any other pronouns in this example? Yes, there are. We have his. So again, what type of pronoun is this? We would say it is third person and it is possessive. So you can always use this little chart to refer back to what types of pronouns we're finding. And so right away, we see that we have some more pronouns showing up here that aren't on our list. So obviously we are missing some things from our list here, right? So one of them is going to be we. Good. So what you'll see, what I just did there is, you know, when I'm doing these mini lectures, I'm really kind of going off the fly, just like I would in the classroom. And you have to have a problem-solving mindset. So when you're not sure about something, you can always search out the answer. And sometimes when you're in the situation, even though I know like a lot about English grammar and words, you can't always remember every single thing in the moment, right? So you have to have that mindset of fixing the problem or solving the problem. So what you saw me do there is I was kind of hovering over the empty box here. So I was thinking, okay, this is what we call first person plural, right? Because we are taking the position that we're it's me. It's still the same as I, right? Because it's from my perspective, but there's more than one of us. So we've come up with this additional category here. We call it first person plural, right? And then we can have also third person plural. So this is one of the cool things about language, is that you have to kind of think on your feet. At the same time, there's no problem that we can't solve if we take a minute and think our way through it. Good. Okay. So just about there. So we've added a few more categories here just to fill out our chart, and that's what we like to do. So then if we look at they, what type of pronoun are we looking at here? Obviously it's going to be third person plural, and it's the subjective form, so it's acting as the subject in the sentence, right? And then if we move along through the sentence, can we find any other pronouns? Aha, yes, there's one more here. Good, and what type of pronoun is this? Good, correct. So it's going to be the third person plural in the possessive form. So again, this is what we call our voice or person. And then these are the different types here. Subjective. So we've got our voice going down the left-hand margin, and we've got our types going across the top of the chart there. Good. Okay, so this is a basic introduction to pronouns. And this also actually corresponds to one of the earlier sections in our textbook, which is the Grammar Smart textbook, The Savvy Student's Guide to Perfect Usage, which is the book that we'll be using as a support book. So I'll be doing lectures like this online to introduce the different types of pronouns. So now that we've kind of got this chart, you can refer to this chart. You know the voices or the persons that we're looking at, and we know the different types here, the 4 types that we're looking at. This is not, again, all of the pronouns. So there will be another little supplementary piece of teaching that will support another kind of next level of pronouns, but this is the basic level. So what will happen next is you're going to watch this, make sure you have a solid understanding, and then there will be a worksheet coming out that will get you to identify the different pronouns. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, and charging forward boldly to our next lesson.